morning, everybody. It's Jean here. Jean's Block Party 2019. We are on block number 32. I'm going to get right to it. This is our block number 32. As you can see, it's what's called a traditional flower basket block. Quite a few units in it, quite a few seams. A little bit not tricky, but you have to keep organized. That's what I keep saying. These blocks, I think I beat you up a little bit last week with my card trick block. Somebody had said, oh my goodness, it took them 2 hours. And Cheryl, I believe, sorry about that, Cheryl, that and had to keep hitting the rewind button. It's certainly not a beginner block. Maybe this one isn't either, but maybe from now on I'll just do a few simpler blocks. I've beaten you up a couple weeks this week and last week, but I'm assuming that if you've done 30 blocks so far, very simple, repetitive blocks, that you're onto something else. This week is keeping track of the units in the block in the sequence that they get sewn into. You'll see as the tutorial goes on that we sew these three together, and then these two together, and then this one here, and then you put this square together, and then you add this, and then finally this corner. So it's a matter of not being hard, but being traditionally the way this block is made. And again, I emphasize that because some of the patterns that I follow are older patterns, and they will tell you to cut, well, the old patterns would tell you to cut a triangle. Like, it's crazy, you know, like they would have a template. You'd cut out a cardboard template for a triangle and keeping it on the straight of grain. We've come so far, but these half square triangles are made by cutting squares and then cutting them on the diagonal. And so you have bias edges here, but that's more of a traditional way. I've shown you how to make lots of half square triangles and flying geese the quicker way, which is all very well and good, but I think sometimes it's good to have a base of, like, if you see an older pattern, you're like, oh, I know how to do that, as opposed to like all of the modern quick methods. It's really quite traditional quilt making, and this is a quite traditional quilt block, the flower basket block. Now, I followed my pattern exact, and I messed up. I don't know if I messed up, or if this point here and this point here should have a 1/4 inch. It doesn't. I'm so not bothered at all. Baskets are like, have corners. So I'll be cutting those points off. I don't know what I did, but it's beautiful, isn't it? So I'm not going to do it over. It's just lovely. All of these points matched up beautifully. All of those matched up really nice. But when I came to this point and this point, I'm like, oh, well, never mind. Who cares? Whatever, right? So there's our block number 32. I hope you enjoy it. Again, 2 high contrast fabrics. This week I used my cream and my burgundies. So it's a real traditional block. But I was thinking, if you are using scraps, maybe you want to make the basket part one color, and then you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different flowers. But you need a background to make a solid background to make your basket pop. So there is our lovely block there. Now, I asked you last week if you were interested in making a foundation paper piece block, which this was the pattern that I've made up. Hopefully you can see that, because I was watching last week, it didn't really show up. Maybe that will show up a little bit better. The pen marks of it. So this will be, the general consensus was yes, everybody bar one. Sorry, Dee, you said no, I don't want to have a paper piece block, a foundation piece block. Well, and then I did comment that by all means you don't have to do that. You can repeat another block maybe that you liked in different colorways. But the general consensus was you guys want to do this. And I'm thinking, I don't want to do it. And then I'm thinking, oh, I forgot how to do it. So I went to my, if you want to do that, yes, do that. Go to my Cheryl My Elephant on a playlist. I have things in playlists. Oh, did you guys know that? Because somebody said, well, I have to find on my notifications a certain block 16. Well, I have a playlist that all of my, if you go on YouTube on my channel playlist, you'll see all of my different playlists. So I have every single block, one right after another, for Jean's Block Party 2019, Jean's Block Party 2018, 30 odd videos so far. So go to Cheryl My Elephant playlist, Foundation Paper Piece, and I believe it's the third video, part 3, or either part 2 or part 3. Well, maybe it's part 2, where I'm showing you how I'm actually making my pattern, my foundation paper piece. That will just give you a heads up of what is expected. So very quickly, I know this video is going to go on a little bit. Very quickly though, it's not going to be next week, it's going to be in a few weeks' time. We're going to be making this, but very quickly, I want to show you that what you're going to be needing. I'm not a gadget person, you know that, but you really do need, I don't know where they are, it's called an add a quarter plus ruler. It has a little lip on it. You can get them at fabric stores or on Amazon for about $15. They come 2 of them. And it's a really nice thing to have in your quilting arsenal. As you know, I'm not all about gadgets, but this is really an awesome thing, really, to make our paper piece project. And if you do it, it's not a bad thing to have. Also, a little seam roller from the hardware store. Just a little seam roller. I don't get up to the iron and board. And again, if you want to watch that video, you'll see that these are the things I'm using. I'm using just some cardboard. You can use business cards or a little bit bigger. These comic book cards or a piece of cardboard. This is essential. And again, I know you guys won't have it, but I put everything right next to my machine. And if you remember, I had made my Lazy Susan. I had gotten a Lazy Susan at Goodwill, and I had cut an old cutting mat. And it was wonderful. You probably don't have that. That's fine, but you just have to be sure to have everything here ready for our paper piece block. I'll be hopefully telling you the sort of the approximate sizes for the pieces. You're just going to need more. You're obviously going to need a big piece. So you'll probably be using, going into some fat quarters here for these pieces, or some scraps. But I was going to make this up before, and then I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll do it as we go along. Maybe it'll probably be, let me just see. It'll probably be about 4 different fabrics, but we'll go along. Just need, obviously, some paper, some tape to put a piece of paper together. And then I will show you how I'm with a ruler, what measurement to make this paper piece pattern. So anyway, that's for a couple weeks. Get your little bits, get your outer ruler and a seam roller, if you don't want to keep getting up to the ironing board. And Microtex needle that pierces. You might want to change your needle into a finer needle, just for this block, whatever. So this is our block for this week, our little flower basket. I hope you love it. Again, keep organized. This is a more traditional block. And I think it's so pretty. How does it go? I think it goes that way. Yeah, and my back looks just as good. And the points. So if you don't have points here, don't worry about it, because I didn't either, and I don't know how to tell you how to do it good. But I think it turned out beautiful. Okay, folks, I hope you love the tutorial to follow. See you next week. Bye. So here we are on block number 32. Now, I will have been saying this hopefully in the beginning of this. The fact that we have made many units, half square triangles, flying geese, in a very quick, efficient way. I'm trying to teach you quite a few different ways to do certain things. And sometimes if you notice, you'll go to an older pattern or an older magazine, and you'll see a pattern, and it's showing us perhaps more of an old-fashioned, much more traditional way to make something. And that's how we're making our half-square triangles. We're cutting them on the bias and sewing them together. Now, there are many ways that we can make half-square triangles. You stitch around, you cut it down, you turn it to, you have 4 at one time. But I don't think it's a bad thing to get a very, very traditional, basic method in your sewing artillery mind here, working with bias seams. We've done that a lot, and how to figure out not to stretch your bias seams. It's all very well and good to learn shortcuts. I love shortcuts. I love rotary cutting ways. I love shortcuts, but certain things I think, well, it's not a bad thing to do something very traditional. This is a very traditional block. This is called a flower basket. Hopefully you will have seen it in the beginning. And it's a two high contrast fabrics. Let me get right to it. Our fabric A, which is our light fabric here. What you're wanting to do is you're going to cut one 5 3/8 inch square. Now we are only going to be using half of this and half of this one. But again, it's easier to cut a triangle from a square than to cut triangles. So then fabric A, you're going to be cutting two 2 3/4 inch by 5 inch rectangles. And then you're going to be cutting four 3 1/8 inch squares. Now remember, the 1/8, I'm sure you know by now, the 1/8 is on your ruler, the first little line right after the 3. The first line after the 3. It's always good to be reminded of it though. You want four 3 1/8 inch squares. That's our fabric A. Now for our actual basket, that's our background. For our actual basket, this is fabric B. You're going to be cutting again 1 5 3/8 inch squares. We're only going to be using half of this, but that's okay. And then you're going to be cutting again 4 3 1/8 inch squares. Very easy cutting this week, but you do need high contrast if you want your flower basket to pop. Again, a very traditional quilt. Made in a very traditional manner. Now what we want to do is on your cutting mat with your ruler and your rotary cutter, you're going to be wanting to line, let me get my other little ruler here. Oh, excuse me. You're going to be wanting to line up on your cutting mat, your rule, your 5 3/8 inch square, and we're going to be cutting that once on the diagonal. And again, what do? One thread inside so that our actual rotary cutter blade cuts from diagonal to diagonal. If you put your ruler line to line, your rotary cutter is about 2 threads off. So just put that on the line, your fabric on the line and your cutter right next to it, and then cut. Open your rotary cutter slowly and cut. We're going to be using one of these squares. Going to do the exact same thing for our flower basket square, our fabric B. This is pretty much, you scrap people, this is pretty much a two-color quilt block, a two-color block, because you really want the contrast. By all means, though, if you want to have different color flowers, then that would be as opposed to, that's the basket. You could use the flowers, different color flowers, with the fabric B. You could make them multicolored if you want. And now what we're going to be doing is we are going to be cutting our half square triangles from, I'm going to cut 2 at a time, from each of our 3 1/8 inch squares. There's that one lined up pretty good. And I'm just going to be cutting these. Now, like we have done before, I'm going to be putting my block together. I'm not going to be using my design board right now because the cream of this fabric and the cream of my design board is too close, and I want you really to be able to see the block. So I'm just going to do it visually on my board here. Now basically right now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making six half square triangles, but I'm just going to lay it out. Actually, let me see. I'm going to lay it out in front of me, if you don't mind. And then, see, these are smaller half square triangles. I'm just going to grab for my slice. Let me see if that is in the. Yeah, that's in the frame here. So this block has a lot of seams, so it's going to end up. You're going to end up, you know, doing a lot of seams here. So this looks obviously a little bit out of shape, but it's going to come all together beautifully. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half square triangles. Okay, just basic half square triangles, and one more down here. This block is 1, 2, 3, 4 units, four blocks down, but it's not 16 patches because we have the larger patches here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rectangle, I'm going to put it over here. Now obviously I want you to know that this is because of the seams and because of the laid out, you're not seeing the full, let me just see, you're not seeing the full block, but this is how I'm going to be doing it. Then I'm going to be taking it over onto my design board. But I just want to show you, you're going to take another dark, this is a unit right here. Okay? That's a unit right there. Now, we're going to take two more darks, or two more lights, I should say, these two lights, and we're going to fill them in, and we're going to fill that in right here, right there. And we're going to take this one and we're going to fill that in right there. Okay, our flower basket is coming too. So now we're going to take the dark and we're going to put it there. Can you see our basket forming if it was turned towards you? And then we're going to take our other rectangle, okay, and then our last dark, and we're going to put that like that, okay, and then our last large rectangle, which will go, well, it will fit on this unit here. So you can't really, again, you can't really see. Let me just see if I can show you. Can't really see. Oh, there you can. Maybe you can. So there's our flower basket. But now I'm going to show you how the configuration of which units you're going to be stitching. So first of all, we are going to be stitching our half square triangles together. Okay? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 half square triangles. Forget this lot here. Okay, forget that right there. What I want you to do is I want you to take your design board and I want you to make 6 half square triangles. It's easier this way. Again, it may not be the conventional way that people do it, but this is the way I do it. I'm going to go over to my machine and I'm going to stitch 6 half square triangles together. So here are my 6 half square triangles. I'll just put this over, my design board over, and then with the long side, pretty sides together, I have starched my fabrics. I have prepared my fabrics, and I'm going to just very carefully, I'm not pulling, I'm letting the teeth guide my fabric through, and then my half square triangles will be perfect. This is a smaller unit. We've been making 9 patches with larger 3.5 inch squares. This ends up, is it a 2.5? I have to figure that out, whatever this square is, which we're going to cut down and trim up. But for now, I just want to get our units together. I'm just going to put this over underneath my presser foot, and I'm just going to chain piece them. I have pressed and I have ironed and set my seams on my 6 half square triangles. Now what I'm doing, I've already done 5 of them for time's sake, as you can see. I'm just squaring these little units here, these half square triangles. It's just a little shred, pretty much the dog ear and maybe a trim of the seam. You're squaring these, you're trimming these down or trimming them up, trimming them so that they're 2 3/4, am I in this frame? Yeah, 2 3/4 inches. Okay, that's pretty much the dog ear and just a thread or 2. Okay, and I have 6 perfect half square triangles. So we're really breaking this. Let me put this down. Yeah, we're really breaking this block down. Forget these half square triangles now. The next unit you're going to be working on, let me get rid of them. The next unit you're going to be whoops. Keep this all in order here. The next unit you're going to be working on is I want you to sew together this rectangle unit here and this rectangle unit here. Okay, keeping everything pretty much in order. What you're going to do, take these 2 units over, put them on your design board like this, and you're going to be sewing the long edge, the top edge like there on that piece, and then you're going to be sewing the side piece. Okay, so we're going to end up with 2 units that look like this. I'm going to go over to my machine. I'm going to sew these 2 units. I'm going to put this pretty side over here. By all means, if you need to use a pin, by all means do. Now, with this unit, we've done this before. You're going to line up the top edge, which is nice and square. Then you're going to realize there's a 1/4 of an inch. There's a 1/4 of an inch hanging off of this unit. That's fine. That's what we want. You're going to sew this seam 1/4 of an inch right to that intersection where that point is hanging off. Okay? You're going to flip this one up. You're going to sew it this way. Okay? Now this one you might want to start. You want to scratch together the bottom bit, pin it, make sure that's nice and even, and then you're going to start. You can see where that 1/4 of an inch is hanging over. You can start at that intersection and stitch it right along the side there. And then you're going to have this unit here. So I'm going to go and I'm going to sew my 2 units together. So I have sewn together my rectangle and my half square triangle. My rectangle and my half square triangle. This block has a lot of pieces, not hard. You just have to remember what units to sew together. And that is where our design board now is coming into play. I have my 2 3/4 half square triangle units, all lovely. So now with my design board, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what units to sew together. So I have 1, 2, 3 half square triangle units that we're going to sew together. Then I have 1, 2 half square triangle units that we're going to sew together with this seam here. Okay? Then I'm going to take my half square triangle, okay? And then on the side I'm going to take my 2 light colored triangles, and I'm going to sew one on that side, and then I'm going to sew one on that side. So that's 1 unit, that's the 2nd unit, and that's the 3rd unit. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to sew that right, I'm going to sew these 3 units. I'm leaving that as it is, right there. I'm going to take my design board over and I'm going to just sew these 3 half square triangles together. Pretty side, and then this one, pretty side to pretty side. Okay, now this unit, you have to be careful. If you need to pin, by all means, you're going to be taking this triangle and you're going to be doing the exact same thing. You're going to line it up on the top edge and you're going to have a little bit left over. Okay, and then you're going to flip that, you're going to press that over, you're going to stitch it and press, and then you're going to put this on, this one over, and you're going to match this end up here, and you're going to stitch that one until you get a unit with the seams that looks like that. Okay, you're going to have your 1/4 inch triangle right here, or your 1/4 inch seam right there. Okay, so right now the next step is you're going to stitch these 3, these 2, and these 3 together. And I'll do this one first. I'm going to pick up this unit here, being very careful. I'm going to take, that's exactly how I want to sew them. I'm going to take the pretty side over to the pretty side, and I'm going to scratch it together so that that line, that seam up there is nice and straight, 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch along, and then you go right through that little intersection there. Pinch and pull. Now, this seam wants to go that way, even though it's up to the light. I'm assured that there's no dark showing through, shadowing through, so I'm going to finger press that gently, it's on a bias, gently, and then I'm going to place it as it was, and I'm going to be careful. I'm going to take this one. This is how it's going to go on the block. I'm going to take this piece here. I'm going to flip it. And this is what I'm going to scratch that together so it's nice and level, even with this piece here. And then you see that 1/4 inch little triangle? I'm going to stitch right there, and then a 1/4 inch and right off. And then when I open it up that way and finger press that way, I have a lovely 1/4 inch seam right there with these triangles, dog ears. Don't worry about that yet now. I'm not gonna, because this is on the bias, but I've starched everything. So this is my unit here of my flower basket. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish up. I won't show you. I'm going to sew these 3 half square triangles together in a row, and then these 2 on top of each other. That's what I'm going to do now. I've pressed my 3 units here together. There's quite a few units in this little block here, but if you break it down, that's what I'm always saying, break it down, and then it becomes easy. You know, so we have our 3 here, our 2 here, and our 1 here, which has been pressed. And I've pressed them wherever they wanted to go. These wanted to go up to the light. I'm assured that there's no red showing through. That's really good. So now what I'm doing, this is on my design board. I'll just put this up here. Now what we want to do is, keeping this in order on our mat here, I want to take this large red triangle and I'm going to place it here to make this block, to make this square here, okay? I'm going to, actually, there's just 2 little dog ears there. I'm just going to cut them off. That's it. 2 little dog ears, that's fine, to have a nice straight line. So we've cut it and we've sewn it. Look at that. So now pretty side over to pretty side. I'm going to just sew this. Again, be very careful. I've starched this along the way. I starched it in the beginning. I'm assured, even this is a long bias seam, I'm assured that I'm fine with this seam here. Matches up beautifully. Scratch it together. If you need to pin, by all means pin. So you know, there's my there's my phone. It was nothing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this seam here together. Okay, I'm going to sew that seam there. Then I'm going to, I'll put my pins in this way so I can show you what I'm going to do next. So there's our little square. Okay, you get the message. Okay, then I'm going to sew this unit here. I'm going to put pretty side over. I'm going to sew that to that and sew that side seam. You got that? You're sewing this seam and then you're sewing that seam. Keep it on your design board. Then when you have those 2 set and pressed, this unit here matches this unit here. So then you're just going to sew this seam. Okay? What, pretty sides to pretty side. So now what we're going to be doing is we're sewing 1 seam, 2 seams, 3 seams. You got that? We're sewing this block, this unit. Then we're going to attach this unit to the side, being aware of your 1/4 inch. And then this one comes down there. And then this, we have a nice square unit on this block here. So I'm going to go do that now. Sewn this seam here, thought I'd just show you. And it has little dog ears. I'm just going to cut them off. Just going to cut that off. Right there. Place it back on my design board. Now remember what we're going to do. This is our second seam, and see how lovely that matches up like that. And then I'm just going to stitch my phone. I'm just going to stitch this seam here, being aware of the 1/4 inch. Being aware of the 1/4 inch seam. Right through there. And then right off. If you needed to pin this, that's by all means. And again, I pinch and I pull so I don't stretch my units. And then that seam wants to go this way. Put it back on my design board. My points match up because I had my 1/4 inch. I just finger press that. And then it's this seam here. Remember, this seam here, we're going to pull over and then it matches up beautifully. It matches up perfectly. And this you might want to pin because you're going to be matching. Look how nice that matches up. You're going to be matching up that seam right there. Put a pin in it. That's your 1/4 inch. And this one here, which is your 1/4 inch. Put a pin right there. And then this is a little bit long. Well, that's okay. I can always trim it down. And then I start at this end, 1/4 inch. So important. I think you get it now. And then I come to my pin. You can hear the machine going through that intersection. Go slowly. I know there's Speedy Gonzalez's out there. 1/4 inch. Bang, bang, bang. And then right off. Pinch and pull and then trim. And there is this unit. Let me see. I think that wants to go up. So what I'm going to do is look how lovely. I'm going to set this seam here. I'm going to go set that seam, and then I'm going to press and iron that really lovely, and then we can finish putting our block together. I have made this lovely little block here, this lovely little unit there. That's a little bit, I'll just square that up slightly, and here, just square that up. I don't know what that needs to be squared up to, but that's just a slight, no, I don't have to do that, just this one here. So it's lovely, perfect. Now what we're going to do is, again, on our board we have our units that we've made. Now these are the last 3 seams we're going to sew. So put this over on your design board like that. Okay, and we can see our flower basket block coming together so beautifully. So now what we're going to do is with this unit here, this side right unit, you're going to do pretty sides over. Going to do the exact same thing, and you can see that that matches up beautifully. It matches at the top. And then what do you have? You have your little triangle down here at the bottom. And that's exactly what we want. So you're going to sew that seam, and then you're going to press that, okay? Then you're going to, when that's lovely and pressed, you're going to take this unit here, and you're going to match the edge here. And what's it going to do? It's going to have that little triangle hanging off right there. You're going to sew that after you press this one open. You're going to sew this, press it. You're going to sew this, press it, and then at the very end, your last seam, these were all lovely and pressed and sewn. There's our flower basket. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to take your large cream triangle, your bottom right, and you're going to sew. And it's going to match perfectly with little triangles hanging off. You're going to sew this final seam here, and then your block will be done. So that's what you're going to do. Okay, you're going to take your unit that you've made. You're going to sew this one so it's there. You're going to sew this one so it's there, and then you're going to take this one with your corners, your little triangles hanging off. You're going to go sew that one, and there will be your lovely flower basket block. So I'm going to do that right now, and I will be back with my block. So ta-da! Here is my block. Now I see I've done something wrong because there's not a 1/4 inch there. These points are going to be cut off. There's 1/4 inch there. These points match up beautifully. 1/4 inch. Not quite. Not quite. Let me just see. I forgot to measure it. Oh, it's almost perfect. Almost perfect. It's perfect up there. Just slightly. That's interesting. Just slightly this corner here, up to that point. And yeah. So that point and that point will be cut off. Oh, well, it's a square flower basket, right? Who ever heard of it? Yeah, it's pretty much perfect. Yeah, it's pretty much perfect. Although I don't have a 1/4 inch there. But I'm not bothered at all because it's beautiful. I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did there. Maybe I didn't make it as big enough. I don't know. But I'm so thrilled with it because these are perfect. They look lovely. And when that's in the block, it's going to look super. So there, folks, is my, ta-da, my flower basket block. Oh, I think it's pretty. I've always sort of wanted to make one of them. And I thought, oh, lots of seams that you're obviously putting together, but hopefully I broke it down that you can do it. Like this could be the basket part, and these could be your flowers if you're doing it in a scrap manner. That could look pretty. And again, traditional. This is a traditional block that we have made in the traditional way. So I do hope you love it, folks. That's it for this week. It's enough. There's lots of seams here. My back looks just as pretty as my front. Yeah, very, very nice. I've pressed all my seams either where they wanted to go or up to the dark. And I'm finished there. I just have two points that will be cut off. And I'm not bothered with that at all. The rest look lovely. So I hope you enjoyed it. That's for block number 32. We have 10 more blocks to go. Wow, this is fantastic. I hope you enjoyed this, folks, and I shall see you next week for block number 33. All right, have a good one. Bye.